A woman may be attracted to many men, but she only chases the ones she knows cannot be replaced. Machiavelli taught that value comes from scarcity, not effort. When you live with purpose, when your time has standards, when your mindset is disciplined, she feels the difference immediately. You stop being just another option. You become the man she silently compares everyone else to. And that is when the chase begins. Most men misunderstand what makes a woman pursue a man. They think it's about being charming, funny, or constantly giving attention. They assume that if they text enough, compliment enough, or do enough favors, she will stay. But this is completely wrong. Modern psychology and centuries-old philosophy reveal a different truth. Humans are naturally drawn to scarcity, mystery, and perceived value. When something is too easy to get, it loses its appeal. If you are always available, always eager, always trying too hard, your attention becomes ordinary. The spark disappears. She stops seeing you as someone special or someone worth pursuing. Research in social psychology proves this through the principle of scarcity. When something feels limited or rare, the brain assigns it higher value. People desire what they cannot fully have. In attraction, this means women are drawn to men whose time, energy, and attention are not unlimited. Machiavelli understood this. He wrote, "Men judge more from appearances than reality. All men have eyes, but few have the gift of penetration." Women constantly read the signals you send, the way you carry yourself, the energy you radiate, and how you value your own time. They feel it instantly, even without words. This is why predictability and constant availability destroy attraction. If she knows she can get your attention anytime she wants, your value drops. The chase ends. The interest fades. What creates fascination is deliberate scarcity. Managing your time, protecting your energy, and choosing carefully where your attention goes sends a quiet but powerful message. I am valuable. I am not easy to have. I am worth pursuing. Scarcity is not cruelty. It is not manipulation. It is not acting distant for no reason. It simply means having standards, respecting your own value, and showing that your presence is not something random or common. When a woman senses this, her focus shifts toward you without her even realizing it. She begins observing your habits, your calmness, your confidence, your silence. In her mind, you become something rare, something not easily replaced. Imagine a room full of men trying to impress women with jokes, flashy style, and constant attention. And then there is one man who is calm, focused, and centered. He doesn't try to stand out, he just exists with intention. Slowly, women start noticing him. They wonder why he feels different. That is scarcity at work. Scarcity taps into subconscious human behavior. When women feel a man's time and attention are limited, their curiosity and desire increase. And when this desire mixes with the perception of high value, she begins to chase. Not because you begged for attention, but because she feels she cannot fully have or control you. Attraction is not about how much you give, it's about how much space you allow her mind to fill. The man who is always available loses. The man who is disciplined, deliberate, and scarce wins. Scarcity is subtle, powerful, and unstoppable when practiced with intention. It is the first step in becoming the man a woman fears losing, respects instantly, and instinctively chases. Presence matters far more than words. Most men think they attract with what they say, with clever lines or constant conversation, but real attraction begins long before you speak. Men often believe that compliments, jokes, or clever lines are what attract women, but the truth is far deeper and far more powerful. Women are drawn to how you carry yourself, not what you say. The energy you project, the way you move, the calmness in your demeanor, these speak louder than any words ever could. Stoic philosophy makes this clear. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." In other words, stop trying to impress through explanations, words, or actions that come off as desperate. Become the man who embodies confidence, calmness, and purpose. When you stand in your own grounded certainty, women notice instantly. They feel it in their gut before they even understand it consciously. Machiavelli understood the same principle. Presence is more powerful than words. He wrote, "It is not by force, but by artful guidance that men hold power over others. This is timeless, and it applies perfectly to attraction. Seduction is not about pushing for attention. It is about holding yourself in a way that naturally draws people in. When your presence is steady, deliberate, and intentional, you communicate power and stability without needing to say anything. Think about how many times you've seen a man sitting quietly in a room, saying little, yet everyone notices him. Women glance at him. Men respect him. Something about his presence signals confidence, self-control, and value. That is not luck. That is the quiet art of presence. Words fade, jokes are forgotten, compliments lose their meaning. But the energy you project, the way you move, the way you occupy space, leaves a lasting impression. Presence includes emotional control. A man who reacts to everything, worries constantly, or tries too hard to impress loses his power. Women sense insecurity instantly, but a man who stays calm, composed, and selective in his actions radiates authority, and that authority is magnetic. Machiavelli taught that real power is often invisible. Influence is felt, not forced. The same applies to women. When she feels that you are grounded, steady, and intentional, she begins observing your patterns. She notices that you are different from other men who are loud, reactive, or desperate for attention. She may not understand why she's drawn to you, but her subconscious recognizes it immediately. Presence is strengthened through body language and energy. Stand tall, move with intention. Make eye contact without staring. Speak only when necessary. Silence can be more persuasive than words. A calm man commands attention not because he talks more, but because he talks less and means more. Presence is also about living deliberately. A man with direction, discipline, and purpose broadcasts value without trying. Even simple signs of patience, integrity, and careful listening show that he is rare. Women feel this rarity, and they sense he cannot be easily replaced. Words may spark temporary interest, but presence creates long-lasting fascination. It is the quiet force that makes women curious, intrigued, and attracted. Your calm energy, self-command, and deliberate actions speak louder than any pickup line ever will. When you combine presence with scarcity, the effect multiplies. She starts noticing you more than anyone else. She feels drawn to you instinctively. She begins chasing without even realizing it. Presence over words isn't a tactic, it's a way of life. A lifestyle built on control, purpose, and magnetism that women sense automatically and cannot resist. A woman respects a man who respects himself first. This is one of the most powerful principles of attraction, yet most men ignore it. Psychology shows that people are naturally drawn to those who hold boundaries, value themselves, and refuse to tolerate disrespect. When you give endlessly, chase attention, or compromise your standards to please someone, you signal low value, even when you think you're being kind. Boundaries are not harsh or selfish, they are clarity and self-respect. When you protect your time, your energy, and your attention, you show that they are not available to just anyone. This instantly raises your perceived value. Women sense this immediately. They notice men who are calm, deliberate, and selective. That subtle difference separates you from everyone else. Machiavelli explained it perfectly. Make them value your presence by showing you can disappear. Absence is a tool of power. When you do not seek constant attention or approval, people begin to chase you because your presence becomes rare. When your presence becomes rare, it becomes meaningful. Women begin to realize that you are someone who cannot be taken for granted. Your scarcity creates curiosity, desire, and fascination. Boundaries also create a natural comparison effect. When a woman understands that your time and attention are limited, she begins to measure your value against other men. Men who are overly available, eager, or too accommodating are forgotten quickly. But a man who lives by his own rules, protects his time, and refuses to tolerate disrespect becomes irreplaceable in her mind. She starts chasing, not because you begged for it, but because her subconscious recognizes your self-respect and authority. This is why boundaries are one of the most overlooked yet powerful tools of attraction. They communicate strength, independence, and confidence without you needing to say a word. A woman intuitively senses that you have standards, that you are not desperate, and that you cannot be manipulated easily. That subtle challenge sparks respect, and that respect triggers attraction. Boundaries also protect your energy and keep you focused on your purpose. When you enforce limits, you avoid wasting time on people who do not appreciate your presence. You remain in control of your life and your interactions. Women notice this instantly and are drawn to it because it signals that you are a man of discipline, substance, and power. In short, a man with strong boundaries and high standards becomes magnetic. Scarcity plus presence creates attraction. Boundaries convert that attraction into respect. When women sense that your attention is a privilege, not a guarantee, they cannot help but be pulled toward you. They chase, they respect, and they begin to view you as someone they simply cannot replace. Purpose and direction amplify this even further. A man with purpose is naturally magnetic. It is not his looks, his jokes, or his charm, but the way he moves through life with clarity and intention. Behavioral psychology shows that humans gravitate toward competence, vision, and direction. Women especially feel drawn to men who are building something meaningful, who set goals, and who pursue them deliberately. This is not about showing off. This is about living a life that has weight, structure, and meaning. Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." A man with a strong reason for living, whether it is a mission, a craft, or a path, develops an inner confidence that cannot be fabricated. This confidence radiates out of him long before he speaks. Women sense it instinctively. They feel the difference in his posture, his tone, his movement. He carries the energy of someone who is unstoppable. Purpose also creates a mystery that is deeply attractive. Most men are reactive. They respond to circumstances, opinions, and approval. A man with purpose is proactive. He chooses his direction, sets his pace, and does not bend to the expectations of others. Women notice this immediately because it signals that he cannot be dominated, predicted, or controlled. That mix of unpredictability and competence triggers fascination. She begins to want to follow his lead, not because he demands it, but because she feels pulled toward the energy of a man who knows where he is going. Purpose does not mean pretending to be busy. It means living intentionally and deciding where your time, attention, and energy go. A man who structures his life around meaningful goals projects quiet authority. Women notice the calm decisiveness in his movements, the focus in his eyes, and the clarity behind his actions. These subtle signals are far more persuasive than anything he says. Machiavelli understood this truth. A man who controls his own life and shapes his destiny becomes respected and magnetic. Influence comes naturally when a man has purpose. Women are drawn to men who build, create, and move forward with intent. They sense stability, vision, and strength. A man with direction does not waste time on things that do not matter. His purpose protects his value. It makes his attention scarce, his presence powerful, and his energy rare. A woman realizes that such a man cannot be easily disrupted or replaced. She sees him as a man who commands respect and naturally draws pursuit. In short, purpose transforms a man from the inside out. It builds inner confidence, radiates outward, sparks curiosity, and inspires pursuit. Women are not drawn to aimless men who are reactive, needy, or desperate. They are drawn to men who are centered, focused, and driven. They are drawn to the man who moves through life with direction, vision, and deliberate action. Purpose makes you magnetic. Purpose makes you uncatchable. And purpose makes her chase you naturally because she senses a life she cannot predict, a presence she cannot control, and a man she cannot replace. The subtle pull. Attraction is rarely loud. It is not about showing off, trying too hard, or forcing attention. True attraction is a dance of subtle influence. It is quiet, deliberate, and invisible, yet incredibly powerful. Machiavelli understood this deeply when he wrote about power. The strongest influence is often unseen. The same principle applies to seduction. You do not push, beg, or manipulate a woman into chasing you. Instead, you allow her to move toward you naturally, guided by your energy, your self-discipline, and your calm authority. Every small gesture, every deliberate pause, every carefully measured word has a magnetic effect. It is in the way you hold your gaze for just the right moment, the way you pause before responding, the way you interact without over-explaining or over-committing. These subtle signals communicate confidence, independence, and control, qualities women sense instinctively and cannot resist. Psychology explains why this works. The Zeigarnik effect describes the human tendency to remember incomplete patterns and feel a need to resolve them. When a woman cannot fully understand you, when your thoughts, intentions, and emotions remain just out of reach, her mind seeks closure. She becomes curious. She wants to decode you. This is why mystery is such a powerful tool of attraction. It pulls her toward you even without effort on your part. Independence strengthens this pull. A man who does not bend to others' expectations, who does not seek validation, who moves through life with discipline and intent, becomes fascinating. She senses that you cannot be controlled or predicted, and that unpredictability triggers desire. Curiosity becomes admiration. Admiration becomes attraction. Attraction becomes pursuit. Machiavelli emphasized subtle guidance over force. Power held invisibly is the most enduring. In seduction, you guide interactions without appearing to guide them. Your presence becomes a silent magnet. Every word, every look, every silence becomes a signal that you are not desperate, not available to everyone, and deeply confident in yourself. She feels this even if she cannot explain it. The subtle pull also depends on timing. Never overwhelm her with constant attention. Allow pauses and spaces between interactions. Your controlled absence makes her mind fill in the gaps. She begins to wonder what you are doing, why you are calm, why you are not chasing. Curiosity becomes the flame, and you fan it without touching it. Your energy matters more than your words. Calm, controlled energy communicates power. Independence communicates value. Deliberate presence communicates confidence. Women are drawn to these signals because they sense a life that cannot be predicted, controlled, or fully understood. That is the essence of the subtle pull. You do not chase her, yet she begins to chase you. The chase becomes natural attraction is not built on charm, luck, or appearance. The real reason a woman chases a man is because he becomes irreplaceable. When you combine scarcity, presence, purpose, and subtle influence, everything shifts. She no longer needs to be convinced or persuaded. Her desire emerges naturally. She feels a pull she cannot resist, a curiosity she cannot explain, and an attraction she cannot control. Scarcity sets the foundation. When your energy and attention are selective, you signal that you are not a man she can simply have. You are a man she must earn. Presence adds power. Your calm, grounded energy radiates confidence she notices immediately. Purpose adds depth. A man with direction and vision creates a life she cannot dominate or predict. The subtle pull ties all of this together. Your mystery, independence, and measured interactions create an invisible magnet she feels but cannot name. Schopenhauer wrote, "A woman will love a man who excites in her a secret desire she cannot understand." This aligns perfectly with strategic seduction. True attraction is not forced. It is created through mastery of yourself, your emotions, and your presence. She begins to notice your rhythm, your discipline, your restraint. She sees that your time is limited, your focus intentional, and your life structured. Her subconscious begins to chase the stability, strength, and unpredictability you represent. Attraction becomes fascination. Fascination becomes pursuit. Your standards protect your value. Your purpose amplifies your magnetism. The chase becomes her natural response to the man you have become. This is not manipulation. This is mastery. Scarcity, purpose, presence, and subtle pull shape attraction without effort or games. A woman chases you not because you force it, but because she recognizes something rare, powerful, and unforgettable in you. When you embody these principles, she becomes drawn, curious, and fascinated, all without a word of persuasion. You become a man who cannot be replaced, cannot be controlled, and cannot be ignored. The attraction flows naturally, effortlessly, and irresistibly. Machiavelli did not teach manipulation. He taught strategy, discipline, and self-mastery. These traits make a man magnetic. When you live with purpose, protect your time, and carry yourself with deliberate presence, women sense it instantly. They see a man who is rare, confident, and unshakable, a man they cannot replace. Value, presence, and purpose are not tricks. They are forces. Scarcity signals authority. Boundaries signal self-respect. Purpose creates power. Presence creates magnetism. When these combine, women feel an invisible pull they cannot resist. They chase not because you asked, but because your energy leaves them no alternative. Become that man. Live deliberately, protect your energy, hold your standards, move with purpose. She will chase, she will respect, she will never see another man the same way again.